pull our databases in from PDQ inventory, FortiSim, CompuTrace, anything that's out there that we use, we're going to pull that information into our CMDB. It's going to allow us to create that configuration and to tie those objects into each other. So when we say we're going to take AirWatch and pull those devices in, we can also tie in the username. So you as a user, we can tie your username into a mobile device. We can also tie your username into computer names. We can FortiSim. So now if we get a McAfee alert, we know what port you're connected to, and we can shut down that port so we can prevent viruses from spreading throughout the environment.
This is one of the key reasons that I say that this is a living, breathing evolution of our CMDB. For example, some of the other things that in the near future, MBAN, which is our BitLocker technology. We have a SQL database that houses our MBAN technology. So, we look back and this week, for example, I pulled up, we had some machines that was showing up periodically that wasn't BitLocker, which in our environment, our goal was to have 100% of all of our C drives on all of our PCs BitLocker.
So by moving MBAN into that CMDB, then we can create the automation that says, hey, this endpoint is not BitLocked, so it's not compliant. So from there, we can take the orchestration piece out of ServiceNow and automate the task that tells that computer to turn on BitLocker or encrypt the hard drive.
And if there's an issue that we can't automate, that has to be a report to you guys. For example, part of the PCs was some PCs that was in the training room, the central office, but for some odd reason the TPM wasn't turned on during the re-image. It was just something that happened, not anything major, but it was great that we could see that we could catch that information as it came in, and we could take that information and be able to start to automate that process, to be able to get it back to the help desk, to the districts, to be able to make sure that we get these things automated.
Do you guys have a schedule and priority on these?
We do not. That's going to go back to a lot of the ServiceNow team and the architects that is assisting them. So I know that with
we do set goals up every quarterly. We sit down and we come up with goals for that quarter. So we do have projects that are in place to move forward with adding stuff in. So not everything's on the list right now, but I don't know off the top of my head what the priority list is, but we do sit down quarterly to go over the goals for that time period.
A lot of times we find out that when we run across something like that, we'll find a solution that we can put in place. For example, a big portion of these machines were Windows 10, so we found out that we could issue a command to turn it on remotely. But there was a series of PCs that also was not Windows 10 or Windows 7, which are not an MBAN. They are under the Active Directory BitLocker database. So that's something that required manual intervention from the technician or somebody within the district. So I started reaching out to the districts. I know District 2 was one of them, central office. They went out and checked those machines, turned the TPM chip on the ones that had been missed. And so it gets updated. And again, those are things that we could move those Windows 7 machines over to the area which that GPO is turned on for MBAN, install the clients, and take them into that environment. But with Windows 7 going away, then we're down to about 1,000 PCs. So I want to give you guys a round of applause for that. On Windows 7, we're down just under 1,000 PCs on Windows 7s.
And there's one big database that's missing there.
Which is?
ETS. Just because from a support perspective, having a phone number where we know where we can reach somebody when we have to call them back for support is a pretty big deal.
They're very reluctant to release their APIs, and it's garbage how they have it. But we still have the code to segue the domain relationship between the two. We just don't have time to write it yet. So that we do have the interface into it. It's just not written into here yet. Because we get an Excel spreadsheet, which is not ideal whatsoever.
It's outdated.
So we are working with them to get the APIs, so.
It's, the key to it is we can key that in there, but it's not as updated as what we would like to have.
Correct.
Yeah, and we want, like Darrell says, we want a living, breathing document. So CBS stuff's going to change on a daily basis. You add stuff in there, you add people's voicemails. So that the information that we're getting at this time is not updated as fast as we would like to be able to have it to input into the CMP. But we do have that information. We are getting that.
It is on the list, Joe.
Other things that's on the list is the express metrics, the integration into express metrics. And so there's many things that's on this list of integration. And I know that as this evolution comes along, there will always be the small things, which just like MBAM, that we run across. We strive to improve communications out to you guys as much as we can. There's times at which we falter in that, but the key to it is that we're always trying to improve those communications. So, and with our team being, with Patrick being added to our team, has really helped a lot. So.
And one thing that the CMB allows us to create is that, like Darrell says, the increase in communications. Not only do we have to rely on us to do it, but now that we automate it, we can pull this information and just send it out or create the tickets on those endpoints. So that way it's got a trackable incident and they can be tracked down and we can come back and it's being fixed.
I mean, if you look at the different systems here, FortiSend can notify you if a switch is down. I mean, AirWatch, if we have PC, we can actually pull the information from AirWatch that if devices get kicked off the network. So
or they install an application that's not been whitelisted.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that that's coming.
So, I mean, with the different levels of recommendations that you guys see as more important, once that information comes back, then we have quarterly meetings that allows us to define what those priorities are. Amarita and Shetty is able to take a lot of that stuff and pull that information together, set some goals for the next quarter, and get a lot of that stuff out of the way. So, next slide.
So the next thing is application deployment. So how many times do we deploy a piece of software manually and it's not right twice? You do it on the first endpoint, the second endpoint, it's not correct. So by allowing us to automate or codify those application installs, we can deploy it correctly. It's going to be installed correctly on every endpoint and allow, so when one person calls in with a problem, it's not just going to be, hey, that person's having one issue. It's either going to happen across the board and we can figure out that issue and fix it. But we don't have to track down and say, oh, this happened in this district and why did this happen this way, or and things like that. So it's allowing us to reduce the human error, the human aspect of it.
A lot of time saving.
Yeah,
We don't have to go look to see if where the software is at, if it's the right version. It's one of the best tools so far that's come out.
In the application deployment, there's many different.
What's that?
Yeah. Key coding.
Code on there.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Dodds, is that code correct? Because I tried it, it didn't work. No pizza showed
No
up.
pieces.
There's many different avenues in which we have to go to for different applications, and the reason being is there's many poorly written applications out there. I mean,
we have Bentley Suite that requires a lot of back-end configuration, and it changes on a constant basis just because everything, the technology is changing that comes with it. So once we get that information, we automate the package, and you don't have to worry about going out and saying, oh, the manual changed, now I gotta do it this way, I gotta reinstall it this way. You just go out and find the application you want to deploy, and it deploys it correctly each time.
and that's a key reason why we need to have those common set of procedures and policies across the state, because if we're doing it for one, then it allows us to do it for everybody across the state.
So security and compliance. So not only can we deploy applications and set up procedures and tasks, we can also monitor things like rogue devices that are coming into the network. We can look for compliancy issues with BitLocker, or we can track down viruses or look for different things, all through that single pane of glass approach of automation, using ServiceNow, using those pieces, tying everything in together, and being able to.
FortiSIM is a very big piece of security. Security is getting to be more and more important with the rules and regulations at which Dixon is funneling to us, just like I had mentioned about BitLocker. When we talk about security and compliance, we have audits. Hartman, sends us emails, or Wally and Sean, and then they get funneled down to us and say, why is this happening this way, or whatever. It's because he gets asked by the auditors. So if we can set up the security and compliance to where it's automatically notifying us whenever a security issue or compliance issue pops up, it really benefits ODOT as a whole. And so when we look at the
we
piece,
can also reduce the time frame that when the auditors say we need this information, they're going to ask for the same type of information every year. If we can automate that information, we can save the time in creating those reports. We just go out and run the information and then provide that in a very short notice.
so keep in mind, we don't set the rules. We just, enforce them. But there's a lot of different things with the security and compliance. I know that with the policies and procedures, finding ways to automate that is extremely important. Just getting that information to you guys for anything that does not meet compliance. Example being, Patrick, we're setting up his accounts for EPO, which is the, OIT manages our EPO. Okay, I logged him on, I was showing him how to get around in there. There was a PC that was on there that was running 4.x of a agent version, which is, 3 years old probably. And I looked at it and I said, that thing's talked in the past few days. He pulled up Active Directory and the PC was no longer on the network as far as an Active Directory, but you could ping it. It was on the network. So those type of things, knowing we went out to the PC, you couldn't log on to it because the automated processes we have in place for the PCs and the user accounts removed that user account from the network. So you couldn't log on to the PC. But being the fact it was on the network and it did have an older version of the software, those are the type of things that if we can automate them. But the challenging part is, like Wally said about the integration for the APIs, they're not always our systems which we're integrating into. So it's kind of a challenge at times when it's, the, phone system or OIT, whatever it is. So finding a way to automate this security and compliance to make sure that we get the information as quickly as we can and get these things addressed as quickly.
So where are we at? Where are we at currently? So how do you guys think ODOT uses automation? So this is another poll. Good. How do you think ODOT uses automation? C. So we use incident management, but we also use persona management, service, self-service, application deployment, license management, image deployment, application control, mobile device management, and update management. So we are using automation here at ODOT.
So key points of this, each of these pieces would not have happened unless you guys were involved. So when it comes to the testing, and again, I know that Gary has been nice to work with because he allows me to utilize District 9 for testing at times, as well as District 10 and others. But when it comes down to the automation piece and the different aspects there, we think about it those pieces that come in on a daily basis that we're automating, you guys come up with those ideas. So that collaboration piece, so that you guys come up with those pieces. When you come up with something new, make sure it gets funneled back to us. And there may be ways that we can improve the process.
So again, we talk about ServiceNow. It's going to be that single pane of glass where you can come in and do everything that you should be able to do to get your job accomplished for that day. So this is even just not for the IT staff, it's for the business units to come in. So if they need to get help, they can come here and click on get help. Or they need to request something, they need a phone, they need a new keyboard, they need a new computer, a laptop, whatnot. They can come in into ServiceNow and request something. Or if they don't know how to do something, they can come in and go to the knowledge base and find information based off keyword searches. If they're trying to set up or get an application deployed to their phone, they can go out and search the knowledge base for how to do that. And there's guides out there that walk them step by step on how to do those processes.
Now, key point with what Alex just said about the knowledge base. You guys have created great documents for the knowledge base as well as the documents that we put out there. But key point to that is the knowledge base is only good as the information that's in it. So if you see something that's not correct in that knowledge base, make sure that it's brought to somebody's attention or you correct that process.
This knowledge base is always going to be living and breathing. The process, it can change any time. If something changes in the environment, the application itself gets updated or it becomes downgraded if something's broken with it. So information is going to change. So if you know something that you think everyone else should know, update the knowledge base, put it out there. And that allows you to help with the automation part. So by putting that information out there, they don't have to contact you. You just point them towards a central pane of glass and they can find the information they need.
If you find out there's duplicate documents out there and one of them is no longer the correct one, make sure we get it updated because, again, it's a lot of work that was put into a knowledge base.
So, incident management. The business unit needs something, so we're going to get that incident created. It's going to assign to the appropriate business unit. So it allows the communications from the business unit to the IT staff. If, say, the requesting a keyboard or a new computer, we can reply back to the ServiceNow ticket. It will email that user that put in the ticket, and then it allows you to respond back through email. And you have a trackable incident that has all the communication in it. And it's all done through an automated method through ServiceNow. Does anyone use persona management? Anybody know what persona management is? Has anyone ever heard of persona management?
I mean, when we think about persona management, to me, I think one of the great benefits to it is that you can have somebody that's a brand new IT person that's put onto an IT help desk that doesn't know anything about your environment. And if they have somebody call in, they can pull the information about that user and know what PC they've got, everything except for the phone number, right, Joe? So, which again, small stuff, but.
So it looks like most of you don't know what persona management is or haven't used it.
No, it's use. That was the
Well,
question.
yeah.
Use.
Okay, do you use? So, persona management. So,
Does this look like anybody?
My time. Yeah, it does kind of look like Wally.
just not to confuse them, that's Wally Renner, the janitor.
Yeah.
So, inside of ServiceNow, we have persona management where we're pulling in CMDB information. So we're getting user information from Active Directory. We're getting the fields. So if they have a mobile device assigned to them, we're pulling information from AirWatch. We're getting incidents. So if that user's put an incident in, we can see all the listed incidents, and then you can see if they're open, active, or closed from there.
You said you're pulling it now, the AirWatch devices?
We're working on the API integration, and again, that's part of the living and breathing portion because
When
we
AirWatch
did
was
enough.
upgraded,
Yeah.
the connection broke.
When we upgraded from the old AirWatch environment to the new, the API's changed. And so when those APIs changed, the fields within that API links to the fields within ServiceNow. So they're real close to having that integration back in place. So, but that's a good point. Anytime that you run across something that is not showing the correct data, make sure that we're aware of it. Because, you know, with information like that, it's very important to be as accurate as we can. In that case there, it's just a situation where we can't pull in the information until we get that API.
Yes.
That's supposed to be textual by, I think it's this quarter's update.
Is it pulling in those phone numbers
What are those?
from AirWatch? Is
Yes.
it pulling
Yeah.
in their
Yep.
phone number, their cell
It
number?
will.
It'll actually be able to pull in a lot of the information within AirWatch.
And not only is it, we're pulling in the AirWatch information, we're also pulling information from ODOT, that Excel spreadsheet. So we're able to tell and know when a user has a MiFi device assigned to them. So that's difficult sometimes to know if they have that. That gives us that information. If they have an iPad assigned to them and whatnot. Sometimes there's devices that are not put into AirWatch correctly. So this allows us to have that single pane of glass to see what devices or information to that user. If you have a user call in and request access to a door, you can see if they already have it. Sometimes users have access, but they just don't know that they have it. So that information is in persona management, and it's out there and available.
All right, next slide. You guys are all familiar with the self-service password reset?
And that's what we're telling our users to use today, right?
I do have a question on that one. So I had new people in orientation yesterday. We went to go to try to set them up their self-service password reset, and it would not pull up for them. Is there a synchronization time? Is there their accounts have been enabled for a while, so.
It did not work for them, but it worked before, or did?
I mean, it was brand new. It was in the orientation, the training room environment, VDI environment, but it.
We'll take a look. A lot of times our VDI environment is configured differently than your desktop PCs. So we'll make sure that the link within the VDI environment, because it's used for training on it, we'll make sure that the link on that is working.
Yeah, because I think that's what we're going to start doing from now on is every orientation, we're automatically going to have people set up their self-service password reset questions.
Yeah, and if you see if something like that's broken, create an incident and we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, because a lot of times the training environment is configured differently than the regular desktop.
So self-service, again, 0 set, phone reset. I know we have the main page for setting up new users disabled for security reasons, but devices are already enrolled. If they get a new mobile device, they can come in here and request the device to be changed out to that device. So send them a code and it can be synced with 0 second and everything is good to go from there. That allows the IT staff to be efficient and do bigger and better things with their time.
Application deployment, as Jill mentioned, there's been a lot of good feedback on the application deployment. I know with our upgrades, we're trying to make sure that the workload for our deployment applications is staying at a point to where it's not overloaded, because there's two different mechanisms which we do for automated deployments. Which you can do through ServiceNow, and we also still do the 6 applications deployed after 6 p.m.
So we know you guys are using this because we have over 10,000 separate application deployments out there. So you guys are using it, and so
it's worked quite well for us.
Application deployment is just not deploying applications to a computer. You guys know you need to go into license management and assign computers to those groups to get the application first. So now we're able to create the profile for those computers. So if they get damaged or need to be replaced, we have that profile in place. You know what was on, and they can be automated to get the applications pushed back down to them. Let's go through the workflow a little bit. You guys know you can see the workflow of application deployment. Yeah. So you request software, you enter the endpoint, you make sure, and from there the mid server, the the orchestration piece of service now. We'll check the endpoint for the IP, and if the IP exists, it'll continue. And then it will communicate to PDQ deploy and request that package to be deployed. Now, if the package is deployed successfully, it sends communication back to the orchestration of service now and continues the workflow. Depending on the information that we received back, if it was successful, it'll continue and then close out the ticket within 24 hours. If not, it'll send a failure message and you guys get notified of that. So that seems to be working for you guys, and you guys let us know when stuff fails. So.
And again, you know, Ahmad's been doing a great job, and Patrick, with trying to get these applications on as quickly as possible when we add new applications. And again, anything that we can automate, we do, because it makes your guys' life easier and, you know, deploying out to multiple PCs.
And not only workflows for application deployment, but there's going to be workflows tied into anything automated that we use in ServiceNow. So this is just a small example of everything that's out there. So Express Metrics. Mr. Dotz and Mr. Groves have put a lot of effort into getting the Express Metrics that we have today in place. It allows us to tie in licensing to our software deployment. So we can make sure that when we get audited, we can say we know what computers have the software on, and that we only deploy to the amount of computers that we have licenses for. It allows us to do automated transfers of computers. So when a computer is damaged or needs to be decommed and goes to another user, we can transfer that information, or we can decom it. And not only during a decom, there's some other processes that need to be kicked off. We need to remove from CompuTrace if you're going to destroy the device or sell it. Because if not, the people that buy the device is going to get a locked device, and we don't want that, because it comes right back to us and they're not happy. It also allows us to deploy user-based mobile software at this time. So if there's an application that a user needs on their iPhone, you add them to the Express Metrics group, and when the AirWatch checks in, it will then push that software to the device without any intervention from the user or yourself. Image deployment, the OG of IT automation. So,
Yeah, Ahmad thinks it's orange juice, but you know. But you know.
we had to explain to him juice wasn't started with a D.
Yeah. But the evolution of the, you know, MDT process has really evolved a lot even since I've been on this team. And, you know, as new model types come on, we make sure that they're within the MDT process as they can come on board. And because as you guys are probably well aware, if you get a new machine and we not put it into the MDT process, it will come up with a message and tell you it's not a supported model right now.
So how many people know that there's only one image that we use like across all the desktops? Cool. I'm glad you guys know. So we do. We have one image for every model that comes into the environment. And so when we get a new piece of device in, like Darrel says, if it's not been added to the configuration, it's going to come up with a message and tell you to contact us with that information. So on the back end, all systems are able to give us the model name. So we tie that in. We pull the correct drivers into the system. So when that system is being imaged, we apply that one desktop image down using the correct drivers deployed to that endpoint based off the model type. We pull the name of the computer. We set that through MDT, and we do that through the. You guys add the asset tags to the BIOS, and from there, that information is all scripted through MDT.
Well, and again, you know, the MDT process, everybody's aware that this process gets replicated out to the districts every evening, 6 p.m. So basically, any change that gets put in place, you know, with anybody on the team, if it gets put in place throughout the day, then it gets replicated out to your guys' environment every night. So.
Is it a one-time shot, or like say for some reason the server was offline and downstream?
It would next night,
the next night, but not after it reboots or something.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And right now we can restart it manually if we need to. So, but yeah.
You know,
it's
if you
every
call
day.
us and say, hey, for some odd reason it didn't get the updates, we can update that manually. But it will take up your bandwidth on your network when we do that. So any changes, if it's very much of a update, which those whims on the updates can, you know, be.
Normally, if there's the whim is the biggest.
Yeah.
So if there's a new whim, yeah, it's gonna take a long time. If there isn't, just to test.
How many people have been affected? I guess
Our favorite application, which
that's
everybody
a,
likes.
that's a new term that we brought into that is a vector. So it's now changed to bum guard.
Yeah,
Now
Bumguard
it's
has
a bum
purchased a
guard.
Vecto, so it is.
Better
But,
name for it.
I'll be honest, one of the, Simon loves this application. And the reason being is because of the fact that we can take an application and elevate it and not give the user the full rights. Because so many times recently, we have been getting more and more spam, we've been getting more and more attacks. Security reasons, Simon can go back and say, I feel more confident that nobody's gonna attack these PCs because of these users don't have admin rights. And I mean, we have had attacks on a weekly basis like that. So I know that a vector is kind of a pain. It's a kind of a challenge point at times.
It was a culture shock, but I think as it's been implemented, it took some learning at the front of it, but now that we understand as a user's side of it, that if you need something like that, we'll elevate it and fix the application so it can run. So it was a culture shock to begin with, but now the users don't seem to be complaining as much, and we don't see a whole lot of tickets that come in. So when something like this does come in and you want to change the time zone and you get prompted with a vector message, it will create that ticket and send it to the appropriate business unit.
If you get a new piece of software that's a Rev 14 instead of 13, and you go to install it, and you get this message, it's extremely important to us to know what that message is, because I can fix that message fairly quickly, and then it's fixed across the state.
So this information may look garbage, but there's a lot of information inside this text here. It tells us where the application was trying to run from, and it gives us what executable it was. So from there, we can pull that information out and elevate that application.
Mobile device management, which you guys have worked with me quite a bit on the MDT product, or the MDM, which we use Apple. And again, with us upgrading all of our mobile devices in the past year, you guys have quite a bit of communication with me regarding this process. And a lot of people don't realize how this process works. When we purchase a device from Mobi, then the device gets sent to you, central office, or wherever, district X. At that point, an email goes to Verizon to move it into our MDM environment. Once we do that, I go out and pull it into our Apple DEP environment. Apple is a device enrollment program. That device enrollment program will only allow that device to be used for ODOT. It gets booted up, the first thing it says is this is ODOT's device, and then it starts to try to enroll it into ODOT's environment. You have to have an AD account and to enroll it. So it's very important. This, the supervised devices allows us to control the devices. It allows us to have easier enrollment. For example, somebody come to me this morning regarding the QR code for reading the QR codes. They said, hey, I've got quite a few people calling me regarding not having this QR code reader. So I hopped on my laptop and changed it from an application that you just click on to install, and I just pushed it to everybody's laptop. Because it's a supervised, supervised device, we can push those applications out a lot easier.
So, and Darrel was talking about DEP. So once that device is in DEP, it allows it to become supervised. We can push profiles to it. We can push better configurations to it that allow us to be compliant with the NIST compliancy and different compliances within ODOT. It allows us to automate that compliance. So if a profile's been removed or the device has been dropped from the network for a while, we can automate that compliance information and so on.
Windows updates. You guys love these things. So, Alex has set up a new Windows update server. The updates from Microsoft has changed in the past year from going to a more of a monthly update. So obviously the updates get to be bigger in size when they release the updates. We're trying to automate these. This is the reason the PCs have went to the more frequent reboots. And the reason being is because you end up having a layered update of maybe 7 updates, and 2 of them requires reboots. Well, if we apply the updates and one of them requires 2 updates in, requires a reboot, if we don't get these reboots in, at that point in time, you still got 4 other updates that hadn't applied to your PC. And so these updates are very important for the security and vulnerabilities. And so we're getting a lot more information that which we'll be able to integrate into ServiceNow through the Windows Update Server. Again, this is one of the things that we'll be able to pull more information in to a single pane of glass in the very near future.
So update management also, we update applications. And recently we've increased the frequency of updating the third-party applications. So we used to do it twice a month we used to do it twice a month. Now we do it when the update drops. So as soon as that update's out, we start deploying it out at 6 p.m. So we are now able to keep our applications updated quicker and allow us to reduce the amount of attacks that can come from having poorly written applications sometimes, or having applications that may have a security bug or a flaw. Google Chrome updates almost every day, so that's a big thing. So every night we deploy out to the computers that are online that need Google Chrome updates and things like that. If we can deploy it out, we are going to deploy that stuff out nightly if there's an update. So what automation do you use the most now that you know that we use these automations?
All of the above.
Don't be shy. Good numbers there. It looks like you guys are pretty average with image deployment, incident management, and application deployment. So kind of like you guys are doing an OS upgrade or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's kind of nice.
You know, there's many things that which we're testing in the background, which we use our WSUS group, and I want to thank you guys for your PCs that you sent us for the WSUS group, because it's very important for us to have that list of PCs in which we can test against. You know, when I reach out to the districts saying that I needed that group of PCs from the districts, you know, before we did the Windows 10 migration, we had about 120 PCs in there. We're back up to about 112, 114 PCs in that group. When we look at the image deployment and the Windows updates, soon will be an 1803 update for Windows 10. These updates will go out to go to that WSUS group first, that testing group which you guys sent me. So then allow us to test it for a period of time for a couple of weeks before it goes out to the masses. And again, normally on something large like 1803, we use a smaller test group like Wally's PC. But you know, something that's we don't use a complaint to. But again, it's that collaboration between you guys and us. As you guys have noticed, that myself and Alex and our team is very, quick at responding back to your IMs. So future goals really is that collaboration piece back to you guys. What do you guys see in the future that we can automate that's going to allow us to?
So one of our goals is to move the express metrics from its current state into ServiceNow to allow us to move the orchestration to ServiceNow and tie it into incidents, tie it into application deployments, and things like that. So right now it's its own separate instance, but we can pull the CMDBs from that location and tie it into ServiceNow. We can automate a lot of what is going on in the back end. We can automate you get a new piece of software, buy a new piece of software, you have to create licensing for it. We can automate the back end without having to go into Express Metrics itself and doing things like that.
Sounds like we're creating a lot of work for the ServiceNow team. Yeah. So.
Windows updates. Now that we have a new Windows update service, we can. They provide some command lists through PowerShell that allows us to automate the approval of updates monthly. It allows us to then take those updates and deploy communication out to you guys as users and IT staff to know that, hey, these updates are coming down and I need to be ready for them. They go out nightly once they're approved, and sometimes the information is not so great. So we can
Now, I want to
increase the
say
communication there.
a keynote side article to the Windows updates and the reboots. Alex has been reporting that the Windows updates with the reboots that we've been working in has greatly improved the reporting back of the Windows updates and where we're at with these PCs. So these PCs that's coming back that's saying they're fully updated and where they need to be is greatly improved with these updates that we've been able to work in.
So you guys ready for the big change? So instead of machine-based applications, user-based application deployments, and this will be further talked about tomorrow by Wally and Sean. So make sure you get a seat for that. You're going to want to see that technology. It's going to be pretty cool. And then one day we can be like Google.
Hi, my name is Paul McDonald. I'm the product manager of Gmail. Over the past decade, advances like touchscreen technology have transformed the way we interact with personal electronics. However, when it comes to email, we still rely on outdated technologies like the keyboard and mouse. At Google, we've been thinking about how to solve this problem, and today I'm excited to share a new development.
Let's watch that again.
Product manager of Gmail. Over the past decade, advances like touchscreen technology have transformed the way we interact with personal electronics. However, when it comes to email, we still rely on outdated technologies like the keyboard and mouse. At Google, we've been thinking about how to solve this problem, and today I'm excited to share a new development with you. We call it Gmail Motion. Using your computer's camera and a spatial tracking algorithm, Gmail Motion interprets physical movement and turns it into actionable commands. For example, to open a message, make a motion as if you were opening an envelope. To reply, simply point backward with your thumb. To reply all, use both hands. To send a message, lick a stamp and place it down. We've been working with experts in motion technology and semiotics to develop a language of movements that replaces type entirely. The movements are designed to be intuitive, ergonomic, and easy to do.
Studies over the past 24 years have indicated that more than 80% of our total communication is body language. When you can incorporate a shake of the head, a gesture of some kind, you're making that communication far more effective.
Our bodies did not evolve to sit at a desk in a rigid position all day, and it is my feeling that Gmail Motion will free the regular user from the constraints that modern society and our interface with our machines have put on the human body.
We spent a long time perfecting Gmail Motion, and we're excited about the potential for it to help improve your email experience. For more information,
All right, guys, questions? Yes.
So in regards to the Windows updates, but from a help desk point of view too, we've noticed a lot, like with the old Windows 7 machines, as they start to choke on like hard drive storage and stuff. Is there any way that we could automate the removal of the patch files as well to lessen the strain? Like obviously it's not a problem now, but in the future with all the new machines that we're deploying, they'll
To kind of give
eventually.
you encouragement, Windows 10 does that automatically, but, so the answer for the old machines,
Mhm.
you probably don't have a good process because Windows 7.
Right. Yeah, we're just getting rid of it.
Yeah, you know. Yes, young man on the front row.
Yes, you can. So there is a package in the automatic deployment thing that will allow you to clear the hard drive space. However, it's detrimental to the machine. So it'll enumerate where the Windows updates file is, and you know, the shared deploy, it'll eradicate all those files. But if you have to go backwards, you can never go backwards.
Right.
So that's a
Once
last,
it
that's
destroys
a
those
last
files,
term.
it's-
Yeah, once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone.
Or image it to Windows 10 and you're done.
Yeah. Other questions?
All right.
Okay?